Are we on here? I think we got the thumbs up. We are back here at House Family Vineyards. Another beautiful setting, beautiful spring day, 79 degrees.
Ooh, very nice.
Isn't that awesome? So welcome, I'm Jim Cargill.
And I'm Dave House. I'm the proprietor, and Jim is everything else.
Well, that's a big title. I don't know about that, but
operations, winemaking, and chief guy to make it happen.
Chief cook and bottle washer. So last week we did a kind of a recap, or not a recap, Dave, but kind of a history of
at least the early history.
Yeah, early history of who we are, and I think we have an airplane flying over. That's just perfect timing, isn't it? Can you all hear that?
Well, that's kind of what you get when you're here in the countryside. Every once in a while, a plane goes by.
My buddy Tim, if he's on there, I think it's a C-131. Just about out of range. Sorry about that. But
so last time we talked about the history about how the vineyard next to my driveway started out as landscaping.
Yep.
And how we started planting more vines around the house, and the vines grew up and had more and more grapes and more wine. And next thing you know, we were doing tastings.
Yep. Tastings for, we had all that. So we kind of had this early history, and then, we're all the way up to, present day of what we bottled. And I think we have some library wines that are going to be pulled in here. Yeah. Excellent. All right. Fantastic.
We got all kinds of wine.
2008 Merlot. Look at all these.
2008 Cab Sauv and a 2008 Chardonnay. We got a lot of 2008 here. Yeah. Well, so that was a good year. That was a
pivotal year for us.
That was year number 9. We started in 1998 planting grapes, but actually the first vintage I guess was 2001.
2001.
So this would have been the 8th.
So if we have the 2001, this is our latest vintage, the 2019 Rosé. I'm going to open that because I always say an 80-degree day, 79. We're going to go with that. Perfect day to drink that. We just actually bottled this yesterday. So cheers to the bottling crew from yesterday.
Yep,
some of them are kind of hanging around here. We bottled both the Sauvignon Blanc, which comes out of Napa. I'll tell you a little bit about that. And then the Grenache Mourvedre Rosé. Beautiful color there. So we got David on the bottling line showing there, and got some, well, it's pretty fresh cork. That thing has been in about 24 hours. So 2019, it was
I haven't tasted this yet.
You haven't tasted it?
No, I haven't tasted this yet.
For a treat.
No.
It's got really good acid.
Nice color.
Yeah, beautiful color. I don't know if you can see that in the background. So this vineyard, it's a Grenache, so 90% Grenache, 10% Mourvedre. This wine always gives me a lot of angst when I make it because it's you have to keep the skins on the grape. They're red grapes, and you have to keep them on just long enough to give it that tint of color.
Yep.
You get too much, then it's too dark. Too little, it's too light. You want the right extraction. So I basically have to babysit this from anywhere from 3 to 8 or 9 hours in the bins before I press it, and then so it's a really long day to make this wine. Kind of one of the simplest wines, but kind of one of the more tough wines to make because you have to babysit it all the way through this process. And then the rest of those grapes will go for the full red wine, which is our Grenache, Syrah, Mourvedre that we have out, and that takes 2 years to make. But this thing was done, just last fall. And
yep.
Yeah, so
cheers. And a great summer wine, a great for a day like today. Wonderful.
So I always get, the marker on this. If I close my eyes, if I had the black glasses, I would get this, these real red.
Oh, great vintage. Nice vintage.
Yeah, these real red plum notes.
Yep.
Kind of fresh summer fruit.
Yep.
That's really kind of a marker for me on this wine.
Mm-hmm.
Getting that
completely dry, but it's got that fruit flavor of the plum and fresh fruit.
Yeah, and it's it's really it's kind of a fun label. Shows we talked a little bit about the history of our history of this. So this is the only one that has just our kind of t-shirt logo and label. But it's it's a perfect wine on a day like today. Try to keep the alcohol low. It's 13.2%. So while it's not quite lemonade, it's almost like lemonade.
It's a great
nice
thing
and refreshing.
And did an excellent job in selecting this bottle. And we wanted the label to be different than the rest of our labels because this is a summer wine, a fresh wine, a wine that you drink the year after it's produced. And so we wanted to make it a little bit different. It's in the same bottle as the Sauvignon Blanc, but those are the only two wines we make that are in that particular bottle. It's a beautiful bottle.
Yeah, nice bottle. We'll get to the rosé in a minute. So I hope all you have some wine out there you're going to enjoy with us. We do have Mother's Day is coming up around the corner. It's always a favorite of Mother's Day. We got some great Mother's Day events here. Unfortunately, we're not going to have it this year. We're at a little bit different time, but
you can drink our wine at home on Mother's Day.
These wines are available. We can certainly get them if you're local. We could arrange for pickup. We could also ship them. So should be great weather this weekend, and perfect time for both the Sauvignon Blanc and the rosé.
Raspberry, strawberry in here.
Beautiful fresh. That acid is just so nice and palate cleansing. It's really grips your mouth.
This is a great job.
Thank you. So we talked about quite a bit of stuff. Yeah, we covered a lot of time last week, and kind of talked about the early days. We got into the landscaping, kind of how you got into wine. Working on that little company Intel.
Yeah, I think that's what they call it.
Yeah, not that people have heard of them, but they had their expense account. Got to drink wine on there and kind of
learn about wine.
Yeah, learn about wine and kind of how we got here, and then we kind of got to this spot here. You got the landscaping going. We started making this wine, and all of a sudden we had this tsunami of wine, as I think what we used to call it. And
it was coming at us.
Yeah,
more every year.
We thought we had a lot of friends and a lot of family. Well, it turns out they didn't drink as much as they drank a lot, but not as much as I thought they would. So we decided, let's make a wine club, start selling it. And that's when we had that kind of early dirt here. This tree, it can't quite see it, but it's the one that's part of this logo. It's right here, off to my right, and it's
this way.
It's on that label. The bench is here, so it kind of shows it there. And we have, we kind of went from this simple dirt, pour it over these barrels, and then we have the porta potty
that the vineyard crew used that we cleaned up and used for our wine tasting.
Yeah. But we wanted to be a little more elegant, I think, and so we really built a restroom. That restroom was a little bit more involved than most restrooms.
We started out, Jim says, we've got to build a permanent restroom. We have to have a restroom. And so we started thinking, well, we can have this building and we'd make it nice. Maybe it'd be 6 by 6, or then it was 8 by 8, and then maybe it was 10 by 10. And Jim kept saying, well, as long as we're building the restroom, we might as well make it. And so it started out being 20 by 20, and then it was 20 by 30. And
it was really the deck that surrounded this, and so I think you went to work drawing that, didn't you?
I did all the drawings. I was an engineer. I was a draftsman in high school and college. Worked in a camshaft manufacturer doing mechanical drawing. So I did the drawings for this. But Jim and I talked a lot about it. We wanted to make it a comfortable barn, utilitarian kind of an operation. And so we made sure that it was rustic. We used this clear cedar, which wasn't inexpensive, but it's beautiful. And we had the beam showing, then the rafters showing, and the posts showing, and try to make it natural and fitting the place, because we're all about place.
But there was a ton of detail when we were building this that I can remember, every aspect about it, and it's something that I definitely appreciate when I walk in. The strength of the building. This thing, there's like hurricane force winds that come up here off the top of this mountain. And we had to build this thing. I think that roof is rated at about 125 miles an hour. The engineer had to kind of go back through it. We got some early pictures of that, kind of popping up. And, all the details, the structure. I mean, that building's not going anywhere. But, I really remember, the engineer in you, is just like every beam had to be, perfectly on centers and how.
Well, on 10 foot by 10 foot centers. Everything's 10 by 10.
Yeah. And it all worked, but it's beautiful.
And And the symmetry, I think, is part of what does that. But then I took the design that I'd done and drawn out, and as a draftsman, complete drawings, and I sent it to a construction engineer, and he says, "Oh my God, the wind's going to blow this roof off. You got to put steel here and steel there." And he designed all these braces, and when you look at it, we tried to paint them all a dark brown, black color, but there's a lot of steel inside of this building. He says, "Oh, by the way, you have to have a shear wall on each of the four sides, one of them on each of four sides. And where are we going to put them? Obviously, two of them went next to the restroom.
We wanted this thing to be open.
We were going to have it all. The original design was no walls except around the restroom. So we had to put a wall as you come in on your right, and we had to put a wall on the far end. And then we had to put all the sheeting and 100,000 nails, it seemed. They had to be very closely spaced. But the engineer made it so that the first time we had a really big storm, we were happy that he had made us do all these things.
Yep, that's been here. I think we put this up in 2013.
Yep.
So, it's been quite a progression, if you think back from our early vintages to the early pourings, what we've done, all the way through to, the beautiful events that we now hold up here. I mean, the view that you can see, I mean, there's, some kind of pictures popping up maybe in your feed, of these events that you can just, these really
wonderful
intimate.
Places.
Yeah, we don't want 200-person events. We're not
set for it.
We're a boutique. We're small, and we keep our arms around it. Well, most of the time, and but that's what we want to be. And just this small.
But we have so much land here. There's so much space that you can handle how many people?
We can handle hundreds, but we don't want to. We want to handle. We want people to come up. We're so close, as you can see in the background. You got the Silicon Valley. We're 20 minutes from most all of this stuff. I mean, there's millions of people down there, and they can
3
come
miles from Highway 85.
Yeah, they get elbow room up here, and they get a little piece of, as you call it, heaven. And you come up and really get to spread out some nice, peace and serenity, sit in these Adirondack chairs, sitting in these nice chairs, and just come up and enjoy these wines.
But Stephanie and the staff does such a wonderful job. I get so many compliments, so many emails complimenting the team here in terms of making it a nice place, and that's important. You can have a beautiful location, but if you don't have a good experience and a beautiful, wonderful experience, it just doesn't work.
No, it doesn't. It's and they hats off to them, because we wear so many of those hats. They were bottling yesterday.
That's right.
I got Aaron the cellar master, and David was up here, and
some of the tasting
Michelle
room
was up
crew.
here. Yep, and and just they were all up here. We were bottling, and and we're looking forward to getting back going. When kind of in a safe manner. Once all this is kind of lifted up, and getting back to doing events here, bringing the tastings back. I mean, while I love connecting with people, I would really love to connect live. It's just fun to have that human contact. And that's what this is
Jim,
about.
you're an expert on this. You're the president of the Santa Cruz Wine Growers Association, and so you're involved with the state in setting the regulations relative to when tasting rooms can open. Of course, we being an outdoor tasting room, but we get clumped in with all the indoor tasting rooms. So what do you see?
Well, right now what's happening is there with the Wine Institute and kind of the advocacy groups are putting together protocols, and I'm working with them to really get some great practices that we can employ. I'm really about doing the greater good, not just doing something that's unauthentic. I really want to, get this thing done and done right, get back open in a safe manner, and we can do that. Absolutely, these outdoor venues and our type of venues, we can absolutely do that and get that done.
Easy to maintain 6-foot spacing between groups.
Yeah.
Easy to practice good practices, and I'm glad that you're so active in setting those up for the state. And I'm sure once that they are established and published and released for the tasting rooms in general, that we're extra safe because we're outdoors.
Right. All this wind blowing through.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the wind did pick up.
Let's get to the next bottle of wine. Yeah. So Sauvignon Blanc here, and then we're going to kind of move on. Let's talk about the grapes, and maybe a little bit how we kind of get to our next phase of of this. These wines here, along in about 2007, 2008, when we started selling out of these vintages, pouring over barrels, it was pretty exciting. I remember one of the best, I thought one of the best problems, we sold out of a vintage in 3 months, and that was the 2006 Chardonnay. And then I said, well, we have the 2007, let's sell that. We sold out of that in 2 months, and then we didn't have any wine to sell.
That's right.
That's when
I remember the summer
problem.
we ran out of white wine one summer in August, and we
brutal.
still had warm weather in August and September. We had no white wine. We don't want to get in that again.
No. So we've branched out a bit. So I'm working with a couple of vineyards. One is this comes out of Napa, the Sauvignon Blanc. It's a beautiful field blend of 2 vineyards in Napa. And so what I do with that is one is a mountain vineyard, hillside vineyard. The other is a valley floor vineyard. The valley floor gets nice and ripe, where the hillside vineyard is a little leaner. And so I do a field blend of these to mix the grapes. And every year I say, I nailed it. But this one I really, really love. Just the way it came together, the flavors, and a lot of good, kind of grapefruit in there. It's got the passion fruit. It's a Bordelais style, so meaning that Sauvignon Blanc is a Bordeaux grape,
right.
And so it hails from Bordeaux. It's how we get Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc. It's the
cross between the two.
Cross between the two, exactly. And so it does come from Bordeaux. So it's not maybe a New Zealand style that has that kind of that teeth, that acid etching, searing acid.
But more citrus.
This has a more balanced approach, a little bit rounder, but it definitely has some really good summer notes. It's got the passion fruit going, kind of wafting off. I mean, I don't even have to get this close to my nose. It's just blowing out of here. It's just kind of jumping out of the bottle.
Very nice. And another great wine for a day that's 80 degrees.
Perfect. Or 79,
Well, it's a little warmer up here.
Yeah.
I'm a little further south.
Yeah, you're further. You're closer to the sun. So a little shout out to Michael Dean. See you're out there. And he can't wait to get back up to House Family Vineyards. Can't wait to have you back up here. You got Jim House, who also can't wait to be back up here. Jessica and Janaea, sorry. So a little shout out to them. Hope you're all enjoying some House Family Vineyard wines. If you're out, we definitely have these available, and we can get these out to you. So definitely great summer wines, and we're coming up to it. But let's talk about some of those. We're getting into Jonathan gave me an update today, and the Chardonnay is all in full bloom.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like we have some really great weather coming in. Next week, we're going to give a vineyard update, a full vineyard update, on exactly what's happening. We've had some good movement, no rain in sight, so, no shatter or anything like that, where we can get really good set for production, which is great for us, because it's our estate vineyards. And, so looks like we're set up for, really nice season here coming forward. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the Coast View Vineyard. And that's one of the first vineyards that we partnered with, because we realized that we didn't have enough grapes here. And so we get a Syrah and a Chardonnay out of the Coast View Vineyard. And that's a shot from the Coast View Vineyards. I think it's coming up on your feed. Just this beautifully manicured vineyard. We took the team out there last year, and it was just it just has this beautiful view. It gets its name because it literally looks at the coast, looks at the Monterey Bay to the right, and the Santa Lucia Highlands to the left, and it sits up at about 2,500 feet. And just for perspective, the mountains that are behind us are at 5,000 feet there. So that's the team that was out there. So I got Aaron, Allie, Stephanie, myself, and Jonathan all out there taking a tour of that, really looking at where these grapes are grown, so they see the difference in these soils. And maybe describe to me some of the differences you taste maybe in those two, because there are two Chardonnays. That was one of the early whites that we used to take the pressure off ours. So it's what are some of the flavors you get and kind of differences you notice?
To me, the estate Chardonnay is got more breadth to it. It's a fuller Chardonnay. It's more rounded. The Coast View Chardonnay is a little lighter. I might have that with halibut, and maybe the regular or state Chardonnay more with a light trout, or a fish that maybe is a little oilier. Not as far as Sauvignon Blanc, or not as far, I'm sorry, as Pinot Noir, with a heavier kind of a fish, but something in the middle. But the Coast View, to me, I really love, like the Sauvignon Blanc, and it's just the next step along.
Yeah.
Like really summer, nice summer, maybe a little later in the day.
Yeah.
Have the Coast View, dinner, have the estate. So that was the progression I would take with those wines.
I would definitely agree with you. And it's kind of the idea there is making that, those in the different styles, they all have a place at the table, and for the right dish, that the estate Chardonnay can definitely keep up with a richer, fattier kind of meal, a little more maybe a Beurre Blanc sauce versus just some lemon over it, where the Coast View would do it. So I mean, you're spot on, with that assessment.
One of the things that people often ask me, of all the wines you make, what's your favorite? And I say, well, what's the temperature? What time of day it is? Am I eating, or am I not eating? Who am I with? Because the answer is different for every time. There's a place for every that's ideal for each of the wines. I love them all.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. They're all my children. So I think it's a great quote. Jen's out there says that the staff loves the rosé. They call it summer water.
Summer water.
Yeah, that's perfect. So, cheers to summer water. Even though it's Sauvignon Blanc, it's summer water as well.
Well, it's another great summer wine and afternoon wine. Although this really goes nice with fish. I find that the Sauvignon Blanc with a light fish.
You nailed it on the trout. Trout with like a little bit of lemon, pepper, a little bit of butter on there. Grill that. Yep. Yeah. Nailed it. Yep. Yeah.
Great. Now the Pinot. You asked me about the Pinot. The Pinot. We make 3 different Pinots, and I'm sure you've talked about that. But this is again a little more approachable. Not as the Saltonstall that comes from Russian River is bigger and fruitier, and people who like a bigger Pinot. Although there are Pinots that come from Valley Vineyards that are even bigger and fruitier and heavier. But it's a little more full wine that I might sip when it's a little bit cooler. But I might go for the Coast View Pinot when it gets to dinner time.
Yep. And
we're having it with a salmon, for example, or with chicken. I might go for that because it's a little lighter, and if you got a light dish, it produces a very nice balance.
Yep. No, those are all great assessments on the the wines, and kind of how and when, the temperatures of when you would drink those, and I think they all have a place on the table,
or on the bar,
or in the glass,
always in the glass.
We've talked a lot. We've kind of brought people up to speed about how we got the original grapes, and this wine here, the 2008 vintage is kind of 2007, 2008. That was a vintage where we really took over 100% of our grapes and started really controlling all that all the way through. And that's, when we needed more, but it took us a while to develop that. And that was kind of a pivotal year. So it's kind of fun to have, the new kids and then
the old standby,
and then,
the old friend,
right, where we transitioned from that. So we've seen where we were but where do you think we're going? Where do you see us? We're this boutique winery. We do these great events, this beautiful open air, place. Where do you see us going?
Well, we will always be a wonderful wine-based experience. We will never become, and have no plans to become, at least in my lifetime, a major brand or a big winery, a big distributor. We're a boutique winery, and we have a boutique location. Our location is unique. It's limited because we only have a certain number of parking places, maybe 75 or so parking spots. We have enough land up here to accommodate those people, but we're probably limited by the parking. But we want to have an intimate, personal kind of experience with wine. We don't expect it to ever be that big, large producer. We want to be unique. Our location is unique. Our wine is unique, and the experience is unique.
Yeah, I would agree. I'd say you mentioned this before. We're not in grocery stores, and we're not. It's
few restaurants, but
yeah, we're in restaurants. I mean, Danielle is out there, and she asked, "What is our best-selling wine?"
Boy, best-selling, but that the most bottles that we sell?
Well, that's an interesting question. I mean, best-selling. Well, if it's a Saturday afternoon and it's it's 80 degrees, it's right there. Well, and if I I mean, that you can find on every single table. These don't sell
so well in the winter.
Yeah.
In the winter, you're going to get more of the dark red.
So yeah, it really kind of goes back to how you were describing the wines and the progression of the day of what you're eating, what the temperature is, and what's out there. I think Cabernet is probably our biggest production wine, and we definitely sell a lot of
more
that.
vines for the blend of Cab. So
I'd say the Cabernet is probably to answer that is our best. We sell the most of it. I guess that's the best selling. Is the way to answer that. But so I don't know if any of you caught this on video, but I was struggling with this cork, and it would have been pretty embarrassing to blow opening the cork on there. So the cork's in two pieces, but I did get it out. So which I was successful at that. So
I love that nose, huh?
The 2008 vintage was a very big vintage.
Smell the soil.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a very big vintage. We had quite a bit. The Cabernet was a great production. This is the Merlot that we're tasting, and that was really when the Merlot kind of came into its own and really got going, because we had a little bit of Merlot originally planted in '98, but this was the 2004 vineyard, so this was about 4 years in, so it was starting to produce. Mm-hmm. And this does have a little bit of Cab in it, in the blend.
A little Cab, a little Cab Franc, a little Petit Verdot, but it's more than 75% Merlot, and it started out when we bottled it quite fruity. Merlot always does have a fruit-forward kind of characteristic with it, but as this has developed, to me it moves more towards Sauvignon or some of the places on the right bank in France. Not quite as austere. It has that earth tone, both on the nose and on the tongue, that you will find so characteristic of the right bank and Bordeaux. It has more fruit than some of those wines, particularly in 2008. It was approachable from the beginning. I mean, when we after a year in the bottle, it was very drinkable wine, but it's gotten. It still has very little bricking to it, very little aging, which is a sign that it's getting quite developed and time to drink. And I'm sure this is going to be good for more time, but but the minerality in it's really coming forward, isn't it?
Yeah, it's beautiful. So as you described it, Merlot has got this very velvety texture to it. Yeah, but it can often be kind of soft, and it really needs that helping hand. Those other band members, as I kind of say, Cabernet to kind of help along, give them the length of finish, out there, and this certainly benefits from having that in there. And I just think it's really developed nicely. I mean, the color. I remember, early on, probably, 4 or 5 years, in the bottle. I mean, this was drinking, really, really well, and it just, It's just. I think it's love in a bottle. It's probably what this is. So.
The funny thing is, my friends all say, "I got to get a bottle of your Merlot because my wife loves it." I know for some reason it seems to be really popular with the wives of my friends.
Yes, this is I think it's been called a lady killer at times. Jim House has described it as that. That's his term, love in a bottle. So cheers, Jim.
Cheers to Jim.
Yep. So Linda wants to know, she's missing visiting all of you, and what's your favorite wine with halibut? Linda, what are you putting on top of that halibut? That's what I have to ask you.
You got olives there, or is it?
Yeah, I mean, are you doing a butter sauce? You got lemon.
I had a great halibut with a tomato sauce the other day.
You could do that. And, you could put the Pinot, but if not knowing much more than just halibut, I would be drinking it with our estate Chardonnay, because halibut tends to be a bigger body fish. It can have a little bit of fat on it. And so that fat, the estate Chardonnay can cut through that, and I think the estate Chardonnay would be my go-to for that for halibut. But the Coast View, they could work too, depending on the style of how you cook it. Yeah. So Dave, there's a great saying that my daughter taught me. She's very much into Hamilton, and Lin-Manuel Miranda. He says, legacy.
Gotta be Grace.
Yeah, it's actually Emily, but
Emily,
Grace
okay.
is. But Emily wrote this line. It's a beautiful line, and legacy is planting seeds in a garden you never get to see. And I think that's a beautiful, kind of a beautiful saying. And I've got one of my daughters here, two of my daughters here, but you need a glass. Don't come in here without a glass. So
she's old enough.
Yeah,
she's over 21.
She's old enough. The other one without a glass. So Grace, who loves Hamilton, kind of got the whole family in Hamilton. She's here, and this legacy of, I think that it's the generations of how we, kind of how we all work together. Mm-hmm. Grace. So this is my daughter, my second daughter, Grace. Emily, third child of four. And then what wine would you like, Emily?
Lane. Pretty sure you call them all the same.
I'll have the rosé.
The rosé, absolutely. Freshly bottled. It kind of matches your shirt almost.
It does. It's perfect.
It'll blend in. You probably want to smell it, don't you? So Grace has a phenomenal nose.
She does.
And she has a phenomenal palate too. She's very, very good at identifying things. Kind of started off young. In the winery, I've got some fun pictures of her doing, setting up the wine club shipments, and pictures of Emily with the wine club shipments. And there's a picture of there's Zach. There's all of us there. There's Grace. See it?
Yeah.
They've all grown up a little bit. So.
And they've all worked here.
They've all worked
Yes,
here. Third generation, and so both of you have worked. Lane has seen kind of the progression from the pouring over the barrels and to kind of the transition now, and you have some kind of probably some funny stories about kind of that history. So tell us a little bit about what kind of how you've seen this transition happen.
Yeah, so I started working here when I was probably about 10 years old. And it started out as just my dad and I out here at the point. And we had 2 wine barrels and a piece of wood and an umbrella. And we stood out here in the afternoons on the weekends, and we poured for whoever came. It was not very many people. And then I went away to high school and got, busier. And they started talking about this deck, this tasting room that they were building. And I hadn't come out, I was busy with school and whatnot. And so I was imagining this
and you were a long ways away. You were like literally
it was
about 30 seconds down the little dirt road.
About 50 steps.
But she was a high school student.
Oh,
It
okay.
was short. She was on her phone, so it was probably like more than a minute.
Oh, well, let's not talk about that.
And so they were talking about this deck, and I was imagining some small patio deck. I had no idea what they were talking about. So probably 2.5 years later, I believe that. So about 2.5 years later, I came out here, and there was this huge facility. There was a whole tasting room. There was tons of people, and I was just thrown. And it was amazing to see, the crazy hard work that my dad has put into this. He's out here until the wee hours of the morning during harvest. And, he gets up at 6 a.m. and does it all again. And the crazy hard work of my grandfather that he put into this. And just to see it come to fruition and to see people out here enjoying this. I work out here. I've worked out here for many years. We work in the summer. We've worked, Mother's Day, which is coming up. We have worked weddings. And it's so cool for us to be able to bring you guys into this and to show you what we do and to celebrate the big moments with you guys. This is our home. You know, this is our land. This is the fruit of our labor. And it's so cool for us to be able to bring you into this. We love showing you what we do. You know, it's not called House Family for the name. It's called House Family because we do it together. You know, my sister and I are bottling with my dad and the whole crew. You know, we're out here pouring wine and talking to customers, and it's called House Family because it's a family-run winery because we do it together.
It's our middle name.
It's our middle name. And we like to bring you into that. We like to make you part of that. It's our favorite part of what we do.
So Grace, what are some of your fun memories or crazy memories about?
You've done a lot of it.
Yeah, I've been working since I was 7. And I remember at first when it was just
half your life.
that is half my life. That when it was just the barrels, and we had these brochures, and I would hand people the brochures as they walked in. That was my first job ever. And then when this was being made down where now there's rocks, and the rocks were there before, but we would have like pour there, and when this was all being made so we could keep business. And yeah, this has been a big part of my life, big part of my summers, you know, a lot of my weekends in the summers. And you would think I'd be hanging out with my friends, but I'd choose to come here. But it's the best summer job ever. No, it is. It's beautiful. This view. It's unbeautiful. Can't.
So I think it kind of brings this kind of whole thing full circle. Is that, you know, you came from tech, I come from a crazy restaurant, you know, background. You know, I mean, these are both crazy businesses that are really down in this valley, but yet, you know, we're up here on the top of this hill, 3 generations, working, playing, living here, you know, just under these oak trees, and, you know, really getting back to, you know, beautiful roots of this. And I think that's the legacy of where it's going. And I don't know where it's going to end up, but, you know, it's a great ride, and, you know, we're really enjoying it. And, you know, I think we look forward to getting open again.
Oh, that'll be so wonderful.
And, you know, obviously in a responsible way. We've got some, you know, great stuff coming up. If we can get going, you know, we may get going in the next month. It's kind of what it's looking like. No promises. We'd get going sooner if we could. But we want to make this thing right, and we want to make it happen.
You make it safe.
And make it safe, you know, and it needs to be, you know, in the right manner and at the right timing. You know, we don't want to, you know, do something irresponsible and, you know, participate in something, you know, the rebirth of what we're all going through. So, you know, we want to bring people back, and, you know, we love connecting with you this way. This is a new forum for us. It's been great to share our history. I don't think a lot of people have, you know, have gotten this, and, you know, it's fun for me to, you know, go back and, you know, look through the photos and look through this stuff, and I hope you've had a good time too, you know, kind of recapping this.
It's a great telling the story. I enjoy coming out to the tasting room and talking to the customers here. But the problem is it's 1 or 3 or 6 at a time.
Yeah.
And it's great to be able to reach out to the larger audience and tell the story, because it is a story. Wine is a story. Wine is an experience. And there's a great story to go along with this. Bringing together a family group and 3 generations, and who knows what will grow from the seeds we're planting.
Right. And that's our legacy. So, going back to that, I think, you know, that's a great way to, you know, finish this up. You know, Danita's out there. Shout out to her. Robert, Wendy's out there. Thank you for watching. And, you know, we just really love sharing, you know, the excerpts from the vineyard, you know, the tasting notes, how we're tasting wine, what we're doing, how we're breaking corks and getting those back open, you know, sharing the family with you. So thank you, girls, for coming back out, you know, this week and next week. Juan Pablo, if you're on with me right now, cheers down in Argentina. We're going to be talking about the Malbec, doing a little cooking. Jonathan's going to bring some German stuff in. And so we're going to have kind of a 3, you know, 2 hemisphere, 3 continent tasting, you know, cooking show going. And so we're looking forward to that. And I think that's about it. So cheers everybody. Thank you.
Cheers.
Yep. Cheers. Thanks, Grace. Cheers to all you out there. Stay safe. We'll see you soon.